Well, Sanmonani, greetings in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Fasting. I'm back again. I'm sorry that I'm doing this video late. I'm at work, as you can see, uniform. I'm at work, so I'm just gonna get into it and then go carry on with work. Fasting. Right. You know, in the Bible, there are lots of fasting that you can find, and people have managed to come up with different kinds of fastings, reading the scriptures. But the main three ones that I'm going to share with you and then unpack them, and I'll just share them with you so that you know what kind of fasting you can find in the Bible, and then I will share my take of the issue of fasting. Right. In the Bible, we've got the first one that we call partial fasting. Partial fasting is similar to what health professions call it intermittent fasting. It's more or less the same thing, but partial fasting simply means you just abstain from food for a set amount of time. So you're just saying that I'm not going to eat for the day and then I'm going to eat in the afternoon, or I'm not going to eat for these few hours and then I'm going to eat after that. So in other words, you put a particular time that I'm going to eat from this time to that time, and then from that time to that time I'm not eating. So people who are trying to lose weight, they know this in intermittent fasting, especially, for example, they've got the 16-8 model where they fast for 16 hours and eat in a window of 8 hours, and still bear in mind that they keep a certain amount of calories that they need to consume in their system and their bodies. So partial fasting is just like that. It's just like intermittent fasting. The difference between partial and intermittent is that on the spiritual side, partial fasting, it's where you allocate the time that you can speak with the Lord or pray, and you're not worried about calories and what to eat and what not to eat. Look at your plate, proteins and carbohydrates and all those things. You don't look at that. It's just that it's a way that people do fasting, those who are Christians. And number two is the Daniel fast. The Daniel fasting has been for a long time very popular. It's taken from the book of Daniel, how Daniel was eating during the time there in the book of Daniel. I'm not going to get into it and explain what was happening in the book of Daniel, but they take the idea from that and the particular diet that Daniel was using during that time. So they follow that diet, and that diet is for 21 days. So it has its own foods that are allowed to be eaten during the fast and foods that are not allowed to eat during the fast. In my mind, I always thought that people who are doing Daniel fasting, they're only allowed to eat vegetables and drink water. Unfortunately, when I was doing some Googling, using Mr. Google, so I find out that they can eat some legumes and some beans, so I didn't know that. So I just thought it's only veggies that are allowed. So that fasting is for a period of time that is about 21 days. So that's another fasting that you can find in the scriptures. And there's a fasting that we call absolute fasting. Sometimes we call this dry fasting. This kind of fasting you're not allowed to do it more than 3 days, because that's where you don't eat, you don't drink, nothing. I mean, broth, no soup, nothing, zero. Nothing is getting into your mouth. So no calories from anything, no food, nothing, only just to sit, and then you don't fast, and then you can have a time of prayer, but nothing is allowed to be consumed. So that is why it's important for those people who are doing it not to exceed the period of 3 days. So that's that kind of fasting. So there are lots of fasting that you can find in the scriptures. Moses fasted. He started by 40 days and then it ended up to be 80 days. I'm sure he wasn't eating nothing. He was on top of the mountain. So there are lots of fasting you can find. Even Jesus Christ fasted for 40 days as well. So there are lots of fasting you can learn from in the scriptures. But my take on the issue of fasting, because now I can just tell you this, that you can read as much as you like from the books. You can read the scriptures, and then you can go and even, listen to me as I'm speaking about a different type of fasting. But do what you can when it comes to fasting. Do what suits you. Do what you can to fast. Because what I hate to see happening to you is not to fast at all, because you think that fasting is so difficult, because people are explaining it in a way that it is so difficult. They become so much spiritual about it, and then you just think about it as, how can I fast if fasting is this difficult? But I have to tell you this, fasting is so simple. Just look at what you can do with your body and stick with it, because that's what you can do. If it means that you can only do the fasting where you drink tea, coffee, do that kind of fasting. Don't listen to people that say it's not fast because you had tea with sugar, had coffee with milk and stuff like that. That's for people who are doing weight loss stuff. On our side, it's all about spiritual. So you do what you can so that you can pray. So I've tried them all. I've tried them all except Daniel fasting. I'm too fussy when it comes to fasting. I cannot fast and eat something. I'll end up being tempted and end up eating some burgers and some cakes. So I just believe that's me. I want to fast, and when I get to fasting, I want to really focus on fasting, not consuming any food. I like to drink some things. Sometimes just drink some tea, coffee. Coffee has been my best, Coffee has been my best because it gives me energy to carry on, and people cannot even notice that I'm fasting. I'm not eating any food. I'm not miserable most of the time. I can focus really on praying and reading the Bible. But that's me. But fasting has another benefit. As you fast, the weight that you worried about, it goes off. But the danger is when you eat again, it all comes back on. So which means after fasting, you need to be careful of how you eat. And again, you need to be careful of how you start and you break your fast. That will be my next video. My next video, I will try and explain the importance of getting ready to fast and break the fast. I have to be honest with you, the last fasting that I did, I ate a lot. So, and then I paid a little bit of price afterwards. But anyway, that's all for now. God bless you.